Hello and welcome to our painting class. I'm so glad that you joined us. So today we're going to be painting a really fun bird scene on these wooden canvases that the Village of Fox Lake donated for all of you. So if you want to do this for free, just call us. Just let us know that you'd like to pick up a kit from our curbside pickup and we'll schedule you, and just let us know how many people in your group and then we'll put together your kit. Okay, well, let me show you what's in your kit and then I'll also show you what we're gonna paint. So of course, you'll get your wooden, we'll call it a wooden canvas, and it's almost perfect size for a coaster if you want to use it for that. And you'll also get a blank piece of paper for sketching, and you'll get 3 different colors of paint. So you'll get black, blue, and white. Of course, if you have other paints at home, feel free to use them. You're welcome to add paint to it. But these are the ones that you'll get. Okay, so here's one of the paintings that you can paint together. This is the way it will kind of look. Each one will look different depending on how many people are in your group. So for this one, it's just 2 people, and as you see, they kind of come together as a puzzle. So thank you so much for joining me. Stay tuned as we begin painting together. Pause throughout the video as much as you want, and thank you so much for joining us. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get started. First of all, it depends on how many wooden discs that your group that your group are painting. So if you want all of your paintings to go together, like a family painting or a couples painting, then it's going to change the way that your painting is going to look. So for this one, it's just me. I can just paint my little painting on here. Maybe if you want, later on you can coat it with clear coating, just so you can maybe use it as a coaster if you want. So that would be for one person. But if you're a couple, maybe you want your paintings to kind of line up together, and you're gonna have both your birds on both sides, or maybe they're gonna be closer together so they kind of like match up like a puzzle. Or maybe you're a family of 3, you can have your paintings line up like that, or you can have them, I thought that would be really cool to have the paintings up and down like this, and then you can have the tree just growing up out of it and the birds just here and here, that would be so cool. Also for the 2 paintings, it doesn't have to be a couple. Like if you're maybe a father-daughter or mother-son painting together, or grandparents and grandchild, and that would be so cool if you each had your piece of the puzzle that went together. How special would that be for the 2 of you guys to paint? Let's say there are 4. Of course, you could just do 4 that way or 4 across. Oh, for 3, you could also do something like this, diagonal, and then have the tree branch going up. So really, whichever way you kind of want to do it, it's up to you. Now let's say, I just want to cover one more thing with these tiles, is if you have an odd number, like 5, that might be a little tough, a little tricky, but not impossible. So one way you could do it is just have them like this. Like that, maybe 2 on the top or 2 on the bottom. So odd numbers are difficult. If you do have 5 people, you don't have to have a bird on each thing. Let's say you do have a family of 5. You could just, get rid of 1, have 4, and then maybe you want all of your birds, which each bird kind of represents each of you, will be like on one section. So the tree is really big, but then all of you guys are together on one branch if you want them in one section, or maybe even 2 sections. So really it's up to you how you want it to look. Now I have just some white paper here. We did give you just 1 sheet. You can go ahead and plan out how you want your design. Now I did pencil out a square. So the way I did that was just, you take your square, put it in here. Now you don't have to do this. You could just pencil it out and just draw it out, kind of just sketch it out basically what you want, and then just start painting. But if you want to be a little more exact, see exactly how much space that you have, just take your square, draw a square around it, just trace out the wooden, I'm going to call it a canvas, wooden canvas out. Okay, now we have our two. You can draw either just a straight branch across. That'd be kind of, it's simple, but actually it's really neat. So that would be really easy to do. You want to leave a little bit room at the bottom of the branch so that you have room for your tail, and then a little, obviously more room at the top for the body of the bird. You can just draw your branch straight across. This is a lot more simple, so if you want to keep it simple, that's totally fine. It'll look really neat. Now you could have, like say you're a couple doing this painting together, you could do like two birds here and then maybe a quote over here. Maybe something that is special to the two of you, that you guys have your own little saying. You can write in cursive over here and then have your two little birds here. Or maybe this is a, mother-son or mother-daughter painting, or like I said, whoever it is. You could have the two birds on either side and they're looking at each other. That would be cute too. Now keep in mind, I am gonna have like a moon or sun, whichever one you wanna call it, some side. Kind of pick which side you want, but you don't really need to draw that in right now because the focal point is the birds. Okay, so we have two paintings. Let's go ahead and draw our two little birds over here, and we'll do the cursive. I think I like that the best with this straight line. So let's just go ahead and let's use the permanent marker that we can see it a little better. There is the bird here. And then the body's a little bit bigger. And remember, this is just a silhouette, so it doesn't really matter if it's exact or not. Now this bird, it looks like he's kind of like looking over here, so maybe I'll add a little beak. But you don't have to do the beak. You could just do the, maybe the bird is facing that way. But I think I'm gonna have the moon over here. So here, I'm just gonna draw that in now just so I have an idea. It's kind of gonna look like that. It's not gonna be exactly like that because it's actually gonna be like an ombre thing, but now I know where the moon's gonna be. And then I'm gonna have a smaller bird just here. So you have like a round, sort of a circle for the head. And then you just kind of go out and then back in again for the body, and it's a little bit bigger. Okay, and then the feathers at the bottom are just like a triangle. You could just draw a triangle right here, like here, I'll show you. A circle, an oval, and a triangle. That's the basic shapes here, but you're kind of blending them together so that they kind of go a little bit smoother together. So if you color it all in and then make a little feathers here, it'll look more like a bird, like the silhouette of a bird. Okay, so there's one bird, and then we need to add our tail feathers. Okay, and then I do want her, they're kind of just looking at each other, so like that. Okay, so there's the two, but you could have them just facing that way and maybe they're closer together. They're more cuddling, And then over here we'll just say, I'll just write, so that's more of like a romantic one that you could do together. Okay, so this is one with 4 people. Okay, for this one, I want to do like more of a flowy branch, not just a straight line, more of a flowy branch coming out. So I know my moon again is going to be over here, and maybe it'll be more of a circle. So branches, they're kind of like crackly, so we can go ahead and start drawing them in. Okay, so here's my tree. I kind of just played around with it, saw where I want my branches. Remember, this is just a sketch, so I can erase, I can come back and change it how I want. What I'm thinking is I want maybe the parents to be right here, 2 parents, and then the 2 little kid birds to be over here. So 1 bird here, 1 bird up here, and then 2 birds there, and then over here is the moon, so we can draw that in. Now here, I'll go ahead and darken it up. Okay, so now let's go ahead and draw in our birds where we want them to be. Okay, there's our 2 birds on that one. And remember, this is all going to be filled in. And then here, I kind of want the bird to be looking up at the moon here, just to give you a few more options. So we do our silhouette, just like we did before. And then up here, we just drew like a little triangle. So it looks like he's just looking up at the moon. And that'd be really cute. Okay, so that's another design that you could do for a family of 4 or a group of 4. Okay, so that's for 4 people. Okay, so the last little design I'm gonna show you today is how to paint with 3 different ones. As you can see, I cut out little squares because I didn't want all the squares just side by side. I wanted to be able to move them around, see where I want them to be. By doing your sketch out this way, I do recommend getting a little bit of tape. I have some here. And then you can, once you get them where you want them, you can just go ahead and tape them down. All right, so when they're laid out how you want and kind of just tape down that just a little bit, that way they don't move around, you can go ahead and sketch out how you want your birds to be. I'm gonna start up here because I just want the branch to kind of just come down. I'm just gonna draw one basically straight line all the way down. Okay, so now we have a basic outline of how we want this to look. Okay, so there is our tree branch kind of going off, and I'm picturing this like a cherry blossom kind of tree. So when I get to the detail part, once I'm done with the silhouette, maybe I'll draw little white flowers on there for this one. But first we gotta add in our little birds. Now up here is the littlest bird and also the moon. So the moon is kind of just on the edge of the thing, and it goes from light. The way the moon will work is it goes from lighter to darker down here. So we will add our little bird here. And again, you can just have them facing out where you don't see the beak, or you can have them kind of looking up at the moon, or maybe even down at each other. Okay, now I can add a little bird here, just on this branch here, and maybe I'll add more flowers up here, or the bird would be kind of like off kilter. So I think I'm gonna have to use this branch over here and then just add more flowers on this side. And I probably, when I actually paint this, I should probably bring the branch up a little higher so this bottom branch won't be so low, because I'm gonna need room for the little tail of this little bird's. This little bird is gonna be just right, I think right in the center. It's gonna be the biggest bird out of everybody. Maybe this is mama bird and these are the little kids. And she's kind of looking up at them. Here we go. So now we have another painting with 3 different canvases. Okay, now that we have our sketches planned out, we can now start to actually paint. The steps for each one is going to be basically the same. It's just that each one's going to look a little different. So now we have it lined up. You can, if you want, you can put a little bit of tape on the bottom to hold them. Now there's going to be 2 people painting with this one, so maybe I have one person on the other side of the table and me on this side, and we can kind of just paint together. Or you can do, let's say if you have a big family, you have 5 people, I mean, you can all paint like a separate one. They don't have to go together. It's just kind of neat to be able to do that. Maybe instead of having each person paint a different board, you kind of let each person paint a different step. For example, maybe one person is doing the white moon, so they're focusing on the white, and then the next person's doing the ombre section, and then another person does the silhouette of the tree, then another person does the bird, and then maybe everybody does the detailed work, the blossom work. So that's another option. I know it's a little tricky when you're trying to line everything up. I mean, you can do it if each person paints another canvas. It's just maybe on the center seams, you work together on those. It's gonna be a great lesson in group work and communication, coordination, and all that. So let's go ahead and grab our paintbrush. I'm just gonna grab my biggest one. I'm gonna get my paintbrush a little bit wet and then dab it out. That way the paint kind of goes a little further. I have way more than enough paint here to do actually both sides and more of this. So you really only need a tiny, tiny bit. There's my moon. I just did imagine there's a moon, a circle here. Now we have to start getting lighter. So we're just gonna take a tiny bit of blue. Tiny, tiny, tiny. Actually, that was probably too much, to be honest. So I'm just gonna take some of that blue. I took some of it off, and now I'm gonna start working it in here with the white. And I'm gonna blend it down. I'm gonna grab a little bit more water, that's way it's easier to blend. If you're like struggling to blend, it like feels like your brush is really dry, just grab a touch of water and that will help. Okay, let's start making it a little darker now. we're going slow. Each stripe is going to get a little darker as we work through this whole canvas, both of them. And yeah, go ahead and just keep blending back and forth till you get the whole thing how you want it to be. Okay. So now that we're on that edge, this is where you're gonna work together with your partner. So go ahead and just paint on, if it's all right with them, you know, definitely work it out with them. Find out if you can go ahead and just paint on their canvas just a touch, just to work on that seam. That way they have something to start with. If you're actually helping them out. Now we're on to the next canvas here, and I'm trying to keep it that same color as I go along. Gonna add a touch of water here. It's starting to get a little dry. Okay, now we're gonna get darker. Now I'm just using the straight blue. And now for this section, we're gonna have to get even darker. So the way we do that is we add a touch of black, the tiniest bit. Actually, I think I even have too much on there. The dark paint goes a long way, let me tell you. You can't just start mixing little piles. Maybe you have a bunch of piles here. You have like your dark blue, which would be a little bit of black and blue. And then you have your light blue, which would be white and blue. And then you have your white, and then you have just your regular blue. So you can make a bunch of different piles if you want to do that. If that is easier for you, feel free. So this is quite dark. I'm just starting at the back because I want to see how dark it is. And that is quite dark. I want it less dark than that. So I'm just gonna grab some blue, and then I'm gonna blend it into that dark color I had made, and now see, now it lightened that up. Okay, be careful. Okay, so now that this is done, this has to dry. And then we will move on to the next part. Do not start painting your tree or anything else until your background is dry. Otherwise it will blend together. Okay? Okay, so it is dry now. It actually dried relatively quickly because the wood is so dry itself that it really dried. Now, again, the wrapping, if you want to go ahead and paint the wrapping, you can do that. I'm gonna leave it. I don't mind having the wood on the edge there. So now I can line up my painting. Okay, so now, if you want, you can go ahead and grab your pencil and start drawing out where you want it. Or if you already know in your head, just go ahead and, if you're very brave, just go ahead and start painting. I think I'm gonna start here. It's gonna kind of go up. And then the branch goes back down. And there'll be another branch here that comes up, kind of goes off the page. It's kind of simple because you want to, you know, leave enough room for your birds. Now, all of this is going to be, you know, black paint. So actually afterwards, after I'm done painting in my birds and the branches, if I decide I want more branches, I can just add them in. It's not gonna like mess with anything. Okay, go ahead and grab your paintbrush that you want. I recommend getting it a little bit wet with water because that'll make it go smoother. Get your black paint really loaded up with black paint. And then kind of like smooth it out like that. So it's all loaded up. And now we can just go in and paint our branch. Keep in mind that the bottom of a branch is going to be thicker than the edge of a branch. So start off thicker down here, and then these branches that go off are always going to be thinner than the main branch as well. So just keep that in mind. Load up on paint whenever you need to. Okay, and then here's where we are connecting to the next one. So if you're the person that's supposed to be doing the branches, you can just keep going. But if you're handing off the brush to somebody else and now it's their turn, or they haven't brushed of their own, you can like start them off a little bit on their brush. Just do like a little line like that, and then that person can come in and be like, okay, I know where it starts now. I can see where they line up, and then I can look back at the other one. You might need to switch chairs or move this to their side, whatever the case may be, and they can just continue on. Now everyone has different painting styles, so that's where it's going to be tricky, just trying to match each other. This is about just spending time with each other and enjoying your time with each other and creating something that's just for you both. So remember, no getting into arguments. There's no wrong way of doing this. Just have fun with it. Don't be afraid if this doesn't turn out exactly how you hoped it would be. It's not the end of the world. Actually, I think it's kind of more fun when it does turn out to be a little bit different, and when you see everybody's character come through. I think that's way more fun than having it all look the same. I think if if your little one is like, oh, it's their turn to paint, and they kind of like put a big blob in there, you can create that into something else, and then you have a great story and say, oh, that's where my little one got involved in the painting, and they did such a great job. So okay, so now we have the branch ready to go. Now we can add our little birds. So I got my paint again, my black paint, the same paint, and I want this bird to be kind of at an angle. You can take your pencil and kind of draw it out if you want. So here's like the back of the bird and the tail. I have a feeling you probably can't see this as well as I can because the pencil is so light. But you get the idea. Just go ahead and draw out how you want your bird to look. Okay, so now that I have it kind of penciled out, I can just start bringing the paint. I recommend starting in the middle. For me, I like to start in the middle. That way I can just gently move the paint up to the edge of where I drew that line. There's the back of the bird. And then I'm going to keep swooping down to create a tail. There's the tail feather, this beginning of it. And then over here is going to be the head. Take your time, no rush. Don't rush yourself. If you need to pause the video, if I'm distracting you, go ahead and put me on mute. That's totally fine. Okay, so now we have a bird. I'm gonna hold off on doing the beak, but the reason why is because I want them to be looking at each other. Okay, now we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna draw our other bird. Okay, so now I can start in the beginning like I did before. You can just go ahead and move your painting around if you want. That really helps me sometimes. Okay, so now I have my little bird here, and I'm gonna erase our pencil mark. Seems like it erases pretty well. Okay. Okay. She's kind of looking up at him. Okay, there is her beak, and then kind of line it up again. Okay, so that is the painting of the birds. Now the branches are dry, so I can go ahead and begin adding leaves or flowers, whatever it is. I like that brush I was using for the beak, so I think I'm going to use that for my flowers or my leaves. So if you're just doing like a silhouette of leaves, and just go in with the black paint again. First, I would go out just a little bit with the black paint and like a stem, and then that would be really thin, and then you can kind of build it up to be like a leaf, like that. So that's what the silhouette way would look like. Now let's say you would like to do more of a flower. So go ahead and wash out your brush. Make sure it's really dry. We don't need water for this part because we don't want the paint to spread. So now we're going to go in with our white, and we're gonna create like a little blossom. So a blossom would, it depends on how big you want your blossoms to be, but they just have little petals going out and go right over the branch. And I would recommend, use a lot of paint here. You know, I like to have like an odd number of petals. That seems to be the way. And then you'll need a different color for the inside. I think yellow or maybe orange or something like that would look really good, but we don't have that, so we're gonna have to improvise. So what we're gonna do is, let's go ahead and see how it looks with just like some black dots in the center. It adds like a little bit of shadowing there. Okay, let me do a few more and then we'll see how that looks. And right over these little like humps, these little where it has like a little bit of character there, that might be a great place to actually put a flower. Or you could also maybe add a little bit more of branches going out, and then add the flowers right on there. And you can also, face these flowers in different directions. So like maybe there's a flower here that it's kind of facing that way, so we don't see the other side of it. And then we can also just add like little dots around. So I hope that was helpful. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to give us a call. And I hope you enjoyed painting today with me. I really enjoyed painting with you. Thank you so much. Wasn't that fun? Well, thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait to see what you painted. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.